Welcome to the History Amnesia channel, where we explore the mysteries of the past. Do you know the true story behind King Arthur? The name echoes through centuries. A whisper of battles won and lost. A promise of courage, chivalry and magic. But was he real? Did a king called Arthur truly unite Britons against invading Saxons? Or is his story a captivating tapestry woven from myth and imagination? The question continues to intrigue, divide and inspire. Historians and enthusiasts alike grapple with the enigma of Arthur. Although the search for definitive proof continues, it could be that some amateurs have already found proof in narratives, mounds and gravestones that are slowly fading away. Was Arthur a real historical figure or simply a product of legend? To unravel the mystery, we must journey back to the early Middle Ages, a time shrouded in both myth and reality. A time when the written word was precious and every manuscript was a treasure trove of knowledge. Literacy was largely confined to monasteries, the sanctuaries of learning and preservation. Here, monks painstakingly copied manuscripts, dedicating their lives to the meticulous task of transcription. They preserved fragments of history, ensuring that the knowledge of the past was not lost to the ravages of time. These fragile threads of the past offer glimpses into the Britain of Arthur's time, a period of great upheaval and transformation. Picture a land at the time of Roman withdrawal, a land vulnerable to the encroaching might of Saxon invaders who sought to carve out their own kingdoms from the chaos. These chronicles, often written decades or even centuries after the events they describe, are projected as being riddled with inconsistencies and contradictions, blending fact and fiction, creating a tapestry of stories that are as much legend as they are history. But are they really? Are they just heroic tales intertwined with political propaganda, each account colored by the biases and agendas of its author? Is it really a challenge to separate truth from embellishment, to discern the real events from the mythic narratives? Or is the truth right in front of us the whole time and we're just so jaded that we just can't see it? We see that within these accounts the name Arthur surfaces time and time again. A beacon of hope and resistance, not as a king, at least not initially, but as a formidable war leader. A valiant warrior resisting the Saxon tide, a figure who would later be enshrined in legend as the once and future king. His story continues to captivate and inspire, a testament to the enduring power of myth or history. Consider this: if the Welsh are among the lost tribes of Israel, then they should have a record of some sort from where they came. If you look at the Bible, there are recorded histories or genealogies and lineages, usually in the beginning of the chapter. One can see this tradition continued as these have been recorded and re-recorded over time as the ages passed over the materials upon which these histories were written, and eventually time destroyed them. Thus the necessity arose for monks, bards, bishops and the like to keep these histories alive. Bishops such as Geoffrey of Monmouth. The histories of the kings of Britain used to be taught in schools throughout Wales. Looking at the author of the Kings of Britain, Geoffrey of Monmouth, whose real name is Geoffrey ap Arthur, was known as the nephew of the Bishop of Llandaff, and later himself became Bishop of Llandaff. He is a likely candidate to have had access to accurate historical records, although some argue that he delivered a warped account of those records. The 12th century saw a surge in Arthurian lore, a time when legends and myths were woven into the fabric of history. This surge was largely due to the efforts of Geoffrey of Monmouth, a medieval scholar who translated the history of the kings of Britain from Welsh into Latin. His seminal work, The History of the Kings of Britain, became an instant sensation, captivating audiences far and wide. Geoffrey based his work on an ancient book, a mysterious tome that he said contained the true history of Britain. This book, written in the British tongue, was said to hold secrets long forgotten by time. This claim, however, has been widely disputed by scholars and historians alike, who questioned the authenticity of Geoffrey's sources. Critics argue that Geoffrey's history is more fiction than fact, a creative retelling rather than a historical account. Despite the controversy surrounding his work, Geoffrey's impact on the Arthurian legend was undeniable and far-reaching. He told about Arthur's beginnings from a mere warrior to a noble king, a figure of immense power and charisma. He translated Arthur's royal lineage, connecting him to the great rulers of the past. He connected the dots surrounding Arthur with now iconic figures. Taliesin, also known as Merlin, the wise wizard, Guinevere, perhaps a title rather than a name, the beautiful queen, and Lancelot, the noble knight. The knights of the Round Table, each with their own tales of bravery and chivalry, added depth to the story. These elements resonated deeply with readers, capturing their imaginations and hearts. They cemented Arthur's place in the world, ensuring that his history would endure for centuries to come. To understand the impact of Geoffrey's work, we must consider the tumultuous period in which he wrote. England was in the throes of what is called the Anarchy, a bitter power struggle. King Stephen and Empress Matilda, rivals for the throne, locked in a brutal conflict that lasted 17 years. Geoffrey, a churchman with ties to the court, was living in a time of uncertainty and fear. His history of the kings of Britain, with its themes of a united and powerful Britain under Arthur, offered a powerful message. It resonated deeply with a populace yearning for stability and strong leadership. The book was a resounding success. It was copied and circulated widely. Key players in a time of turmoil, shaping the narrative. Geoffrey of Monmouth was not alone in shaping the Arthurian narrative. Robert the Consul, Lord of Glamorgan and Earl of Gloucester, played a pivotal role. As Geoffrey's patron, he likely influenced the work. Or was it Geoffrey trying to influence Robert to seize the throne? Some scholars suggest Robert saw himself as a modern-day Arthur, a leader destined to reunite Britain. King Stephen and Empress Matilda, locked in their power struggle, also unintentionally fueled the legend. Their conflict mirrored the chaos that Arthur, according to Geoffrey, had quelled. This fueled a longing for the peace and unity of a bygone era, a longing that Geoffrey's work so effectively tapped into. Doubting the dream William of Malmesbury's skepticism. Not everyone embraced Geoffrey's version of history. William of Malmesbury, a contemporary chronicler, voiced his doubts. He criticized Geoffrey's reliance on obscure sources. He questioned the fantastical elements that peppered the narrative. It is clear William wrote that everything this man wrote about Arthur and his successors, or indeed about his predecessors from Vortigern onwards, was made up, partly by himself and partly by others. After Geoffrey's death, William had been turned down for the position of the Bishop of Llandaff. And now a clear motive for the criticism of Geoffrey became obvious. Despite such criticism and blatant spite, Geoffrey's work resonated with the public. It filled a need for the people to remember their kings and a glorious past. Two kings, Arthur's dual identity. Geoffrey's history presents two distinct Arthurs. The first is a warrior, a battle-hardened leader who emerges in the chaos following the Roman withdrawal. This Arthur is mentioned in earlier chronicles, albeit briefly. He is a figure shrouded in mystery. His deeds are the stuff of legend. The second Arthur is a king, a wise and powerful ruler who unites the Britons. He establishes a magnificent court. He presides over an era of peace and prosperity. This Arthur is the ruler of the legendary Camelot. He embodies the ideals of chivalry and good governance. He represents the yearning for a return to a golden age. King Arthur I lived in the 4th century and was the great-grandson of Constantine the Great. His father was Magnus Maximus. As we know, Constantine was the son of Roman officer Flavius Valerius Constantius and a Christian woman named Helena. King Arthur II was King Arthur I's 4th great-grandson. So in order, we have Tathal, King Arthur I's son, Tithrin, his grandson, Teithfolt, his great-grandson, Tudrik, his great-great-grandson, Murig, his great-great-great-grandson, and Arthur II, his great-great-great-great-grandson. King Arthur II lived during the 6th century. Is it any wonder why he was such a great warrior, considering his ancestry? A sudden fall from grace, the dismissal of Geoffrey's work. For centuries, Geoffrey's history was regarded as a legitimate historical source. It shaped the perception of Arthur. It influenced literature, art, and even political thought. However, the Renaissance brought a renewed emphasis on classical learning. Scholars began to scrutinize sources more critically. They said Geoffrey's lack of reliable sources, his reliance on folklore and oral traditions, led to his work being increasingly dismissed. It was relegated to the realm of myth and legend. The historical Arthur became lost in the shadow of the dismissal of Geoffrey's work. A legacy clouded by doubt, reassessing Geoffrey of Monmouth. Today, most historians view Geoffrey's work with a critical eye. They view his work as historical inaccuracies and full of fictional embellishments. However, some argue that dismissing it entirely is a mistake. They suggest that if it's factually accurate, Geoffrey's history offers valuable insights and should not be dismissed. It reflects the anxieties and aspirations of the time. Some still hold on to the belief in what Geoffrey translated was truth. Geoffrey's work, they argue, deserves to be studied as a reliable historical account and as a window into the medieval psyche. Arthur's enduring appeal. The enduring appeal of King Arthur transcends time. His story taps into universal themes: the battle between good and evil, the importance of courage and honor, the allure of magic and mystery. These themes resonate across cultures and time periods. Arthur's story also serves as a powerful example for leadership. He represents the ideal ruler, just, compassionate, and courageous. His story continues to inspire leaders and dreamers alike. Also, it reminds us of the importance of unity, integrity, and the pursuit of a greater good. Conclusion: between history and myth, the enduring allure of King Arthur. The question of whether King Arthur was real or myth may be answered. The lines between history and legend blur, only if we allow it. Always search for truth. Many believe the historical record is murky, filled with gaps and inconsistencies that make it difficult to separate fact from fiction. Although evidence is open to interpretation, scholars and historians often reach different conclusions based on the same set of data. The story of King Arthur endures, as did the legendary city of Troy. We know Troy is no longer a myth or legend. Arthur's story is there, regardless of its legendary status. The Heinrich Schliemann's of today have told the real story of both King Arthurs. Will we listen and accept their insights? Although these men died in 2022 and 2023, they have written books, volumes on this subject. I'll list the site in the description. There's more to this story. Stay tuned as we dive into the real King Arthur II. Let's keep history alive, so our future generations don't develop history amnesia. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more fascinating historical insights. Thank you for watching.